where's the opportunity? Well, most of the reforestation opportunity lies within places where forest has been degraded or destroyed. And Brazil, unfortunately, has the most degraded forest in the world. So there's a land mass in the Brazilian Amazon, the size larger than Germany, of area that has been deforested. Most of this is used for cattle pasture or soy crops. Heavily degraded. And so there's to replant forests and to use those replanted forests as a way to draw carbon out of the atmosphere. So why specifically, if you're wanting to do reforestation, why would you also be interested in the Amazon? Well, in addition to it being the largest reforestation opportunity in the world, the Amazon also is a critical global biome. Right? This is an incredibly important ecosystem for us to preserve. Reforestation is one of the critical things in ensuring that the Amazon doesn't reach a tipping point, at which point the ecosystem starts to self-degrade. As you may know, right, the Amazon creates rain. That rain reinforces the Amazon. So the hydrological cycles that are formed by us having the trees in the Amazon is part of what makes the Amazon and continues to sustain the Amazon. So it's really important that we stop deforesting the Amazon, but also that we reforest a buffer zone inside of the Amazon in order to ensure that we don't lose this critical global resource. More than 10% of the known species of the world live inside of the Amazon biome. It's the largest freshwater source in the globe. And of course, the rain that comes from the Amazon also falls on all the crops that are grown in the south of Brazil, which are critically important to the global food ecosystem. So you really can't lose the Amazon. And so Mombak said 4 years ago, sit down. Microsoft, Google, and others. So over the last 4 years, we've become one of the premier carbon removal companies in the world. To date, we've raised around $220 million US in a combination of equity and debt into our company to do these large-scale reforestation projects in the Amazon. Come from world-renowned investors. Also got money from some of the largest debt providers in the world. The World Bank, for example, BNDES, Brazil's National Development Bank, have all supported these projects in order to do large hectares of land, about 4 times those familiar off-take agreements with some of the largest companies in the world for carbon removal. So just to talk a little bit about what reforestation actually looks like in the field, this is a farm called Turmalina. Turmalina is about 3.5 hours away from Belém, where we sit. So if you drove south on some of the one of the roads that cuts through the Amazon, you would come to a town called Mai do Rio, and in Mai do Rio we have Turmalina there. So Turmalina, before we acquired this farm, so this was 3 years ago now, Turmalina was a cattle pasture. You can tell from this photo that it wasn't a great cattle pasture, but this was an area where now is about 3,000 cows, degradated about 40 years ago. So this used to be to graze cattle. So Mombak bought this 3 years, and since 8 million seedlings in this farm. So seedling is the small trees that you see here sitting in our part of our waiting nursery. We planted over 100 different native species in this specific farm. Restore in the splendor and biodiverse beauty that it was before. So our simple and not for any other. Yeah.
Are you having the thoughts of growing a natural ecosystem, or how is it being planted? So when you're planting the trees, you're thinking about with a pattern or with kind of a mix.
Here you can see the soil preparation activities. Our approach is a certain density of trees that we think will start the process of reestablishing the forest through a mixture of native species that are going to grow really fast and die off, and some species that are going to grow more slowly but persist for hundreds of years. And so this specific restoration approach, which Renato, one of our lead scientists here, actually is a pioneer of, helps to ensure that the forest succession process kind of gets kick-started. And so we don't end up with just something that grows quickly and dies, or something that grows too slowly and therefore would have challenging economic or practical because that needs to sell carbon credits soon. So we plant in rows, but of course over time this is going to burst as well. So some of these trees are going to die, others will form, they will start. And here's after planting looks like. So Molina was planted less than 3 years ago, and this farm is a forest. High canopy trees. This is significant size of trees, and again, these are all native biodiverse trees. So one of the amazing things about the Amazon is that trees grow incredibly quickly. This is an area where we have the best rainfall in the world. We have great temperatures for tree growth, and we have native species which are specifically for these biomes. So in a very short period of time, we can end up with a beautiful forest, and not just forest, when we get all the other diverse community benefits associated with the restoration of that. So these are just some pictures of the animals that we've seen coming back to in time. So this is going to be a 150-year-long project for us, not just a few years, and permanently preserve this forest. But in just a short period of time, you can already see large cats and sloths and amazing birds coming back to this area that before was just a cattle ranch. In addition to tree growth and biodiversity, we also get amazing community benefits associated with the restoration of these forests. So a lot of the products that a lot of the trees that we're planting in these forests some of those even start generating revenue in a little over a year after planting. These are examples. This, for example, is an urucum berry, which is used in dyes and in coloring agents as well. That after we planted. And so we have community cooperative harvest urucum and put it into the market. This is an amazing strategy for creating a long durability forest, because it means that the community is actually benefiting from there being a forest there. So we see that as a really important part of our projects. So just to talk a little bit about what makes these projects different from why we think these are the best way to remove carbon or any other method. Environmental and delivery risks our clients, but it's really specific to the way we've set up these projects. So a lot of the used to design the projects enable us to have incredibly low risk credits. Some of those things, project design components that we've chosen are things like how we handle the leakage associated with the project. So we actively invest in productivity enhancement projects to mitigate all of the leakage that would be generated by these reforestation projects. So that means we're taking cows off the land to reforest a farm, but when we do that, we can work with other farms to make sure that they increase their productivity to basically absorb that same amount of production, so that there is a net impact that would be negative on the cattle production system. Similarly, we're very focused on co-benefits, native species, on sourcing local labor. All of our projects meet the IFC performance standards as well. I talked a little bit before about maximizing the durability credits as well. Obviously, specifically in this pavilion, we think a lot about what does a high durability credit look like. Most people think hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of years. Obviously, the forest can and has persisted for thousands, millions of years, if not cut down. And for us, that means really making the projects in a way that we can preserve these forests indefinitely for carbon removal. So, those forests are not going to be turned into eucalyptus plantations that is